Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for watching the video. If you made it to this point and you're still watching, I kind of wanted to take some time and actually talk about what I've been working on with the Dragunity cards. Um, as you saw from the combo, Dragon Ravine and Remus, they search each other, right? So what this causes is a incredibly degenerate resource loop that you can abuse Dragon Ravine over and over again to find the pieces you need to consistently see Gay Dig, which was something I haven't really seen explored with these cards. Particularly with the Dragon Maid cards, a lot of them like being discarded or are better off in the graveyard. You know, tidying or changeover. Um, Cute little interactions like searching DD Crow in the combo or is now possible if you ever end up with like a dragon in your hand that you don't really need. You can now convert that into interruption. Alternatively, you can send another Remus and convert it into extension. Um, like to be completely honest, this deck is quite powerful. Um, I think this breaks Dragon Ravine. I think this is the deck that really highlights how broken this card is. It's the fact that it's not hard once per turn is insane. Like prior to really looking at the pool of cards that dragons had available to them, I didn't really realize that if you can make Romulus, um, you can do the Gay Deer combo, right? It doesn't really cost you anything. All you really need is just an extra extender. So, like the normal two card combo that Chamber and like the Trap or Chamber and any of these Reborn cards would lead to, Romulus LP Pisty. You can actually just throw Gay Deer in that too. You just need to discard, do a couple one for one trades, which is fine because Chamber herself pays for one of them by discarding Tidying. And like Dragon Ravine's discard cost, if you're actually searching cards instead of sending them, isn't a minus in card advantage. It's actually like neutral because you're going one for one. So it's actually pretty powerful. But there are a lot of things to talk about, right? This variant of the deck, it's incredibly susceptible to Droll and Lockbird and, funnily enough, Graveyard Hate. Like DD Crow, Skullmeister, Ghost Bell all really hurt. Um, DD Crow was probably the biggest defender since as soon if you get DD Crowed on Remus's initial activation or like a terraforming or the first use of Dragon Ravine, it's not too good. But this does open up an opportunity to resolve Gamma on your opponent's during your turn, which is incredibly powerful, right? Because your opponent is oftentimes not going to read that using gamma on the Droll and Lockbird, or using Droll and Lockbird on the Remus after your initial use. They're not going to read that could potentially be like punished, right? And so you can go into Omega. You have this. You can technically go into Savage Dragon, right? The only thing about Savage Dragon is you're technically giving up your Nibiru protection if you choose to go that route. So I chose to just go for Omega and rip a card out of my opponent's hand after I get Spheres on board. Because like the first time you link summon, if you're doing the Dragunity combo, is like that your first link summon is going to be Guard Dragon, not Guard Dragon OP. It's going to be Keratic Spheres. So the first time a Link monster is actually getting into the graveyard, since you're not using Romulus consistently for combo, is what? I think it's LP and Pisty actually, when you're sending them to the graveyard for Satellite Dragon, which is at the very end of the combo, and it's not possible to do the entire combo with Gamma and Driver just sitting there. Um, Mostly because when it's time to fusion summon for show, you need to have like a zone open, and you also want to get show in the far right zone. Let me show you this zone right here. This is if you want to like try and get show in this zone as often as possible. So you play around you relinquished Anima and then the Geo transmitter card. So that's why it's really good to put your cards here. And then you want um, spheres and satellite dragon to be like this on either side. It doesn't really matter where they go. If you put spheres here, you want to have satellite dragon here, of course, just so that you can't get geoed. You don't want to put spheres here and then like have satellite dragon here. I mean spheres here and satellite dragon here, and then you can get geoed. Because that's just taking away some of your inevitability. So you kind of don't want to do that. Um, but yeah, like this deck is crazy. Two World Legacy Guard Dragon, one Monster Reborn. The only reason I play these cards is because if you don't open Remus, Ravine, or Terraforming, Parlor kind of struggles a bit since she doesn't combo with Tidying. She would only combo with Hospitality, and you'd only be playing three of them. I mean, two of them. So you play these cards, but you don't actually need them for combo at all. Like, it's crazy, but World Legacy Guard Dragon isn't that great. I mean, it's great. It's a good card, but it's not as powerful in this deck as it is in like a different dragon style variant. Um, so yeah, Access Code Talker was cut. Nightmare Unicorn was cut. The Remus lock really makes Boral Sword a lot better, just so that you can OTK. It does make playing through back row a little harder, but that's why we play Phoenix instead of Unicorn, especially since Boral Sword and Unicorn kind of feel weird together. Um, but Phoenix and Boral Sword are fine. Uh, then you have Armagram, right? I initially determined that you didn't need this card, and I definitely don't think you need the card that searches it. But I do think this card is a fantastic follow-up for this deck, right? Because you play so many copies of Dragon Ravine now that you're always going to see it. And on your turn 3, right? Dragon Ravine sending Armagram and you banishing the loads of excess dragon cards you have in your graveyard. Like, once you finish dragon combo, you should have both guard dragons, maybe a spheres if you use it on your opponent's turn. If you're linking stuff off, you'll have satellite dragon. You'll just have so many dead cards like DD Crow if you use it for the combo. Just sitting in your graveyard, Armagram lets you convert that into pressure. It's a spell speed 1 negate, which is good for breaking boards, so you don't have to exert pressure, but it's mostly just because it can equip monsters. So when it destroys something by battle and that card would float, Armagram can like stop that by equipping it to itself. And it's really good, right? Because if you, let's say you end up in a hand that doesn't have a free discard for DD Crow, like you won't always be able to search DD Crow. It depends if you have a leftover dragon towards the end of your combo. You'll send Remus to thin your deck, but in doing that, by reviving Armagram, Remus can revive itself again to use its effect. So you can make spheres with these two as like a follow-up play. So this card actually has a lot of utility as a like just being a great follow-up card. I It's hard to like compare it to something in another deck because it's like a boss monster that doesn't apply pressure turn 1, but it does apply a lot of pressure turn 2 since it's recurring and it's like free link material, and it just uses your advantage really well. So I think playing 1 is absolutely like required. Um, Not really worried too much. Like, I wouldn't talk about the side deck. The only, actually that's not true. Um, two sets of cards I want to talk about is Disparity and Triple Tack. This build is super consistent, right? Because seeing terraforming like tidying and DD Crow like in your opening hand, or like terraforming tidying like any dragon is, or a reborn card is like full combo. Um, it's insane just because how many times you can resolve Dragon Ravine. Um, the need for Disparity definitely decreases a little bit, but I would still play it just because even when you're side decking, it helps you see like these cards that you want to see. But this card right here, there's a lot of, you can make a huge argument for main decking this card over Disparity. Um, Personally though, I like Disparity because even though Tactics helps you play around hand traps, you kind of have to take the hit first. Whereas like disparity could do something as simple as activate disparity. I already have full combo. Add gamma to my hand. My opponent drolls, right? They droll me right there, and I added the gamma. I just gamma them. They're going to have to eventually droll me, right? But if they wait too long, I win, right? Um, Another bad thing for them to do is if I end up using parlor to set up the combo with the trap card with the tidying, I need chamber to search changeover, so that's where it's like droll would hurt in that scenario. But if chamber is like starting for me, then I don't care about droll after I use Gay Dirg's effect. And after using Gay Dirg's effect is the first time droll would be able to hit you if you have Gamma to protect Terraforming, Ravine, and Disparity. Like there's just so many cards that Gamma can now like shield from, like an Ash Blossom, can shield from a Droll, um, can even technically shield you from well, actually no, it can't really. I mean, like it depends on when your opponent chains the DD Crow. Like if they chain the DD Crow to the Remus discard effect, then you could gamma that and like protect your Remus. But it's also probably just better to wait for your opponent to declare Remus's effect and then DD Crow to like stop the combo. Graveyard Hate is really strong against this deck, but to be fair, Graveyard Hate was always strong against Dragon Maid. Like DD Crow on like any of your fusion spell, or like your tidying reborn, or like a targeted nurse for like X reason, like all those things already hurt. So this deck isn't necessarily more or less weak to it. Um, so yeah, I actually think like this card's broken. Uh, the insane utility it provides now, just looping, being able to loop it until you get your desired combo is insane. If you start with Remus, you end with 2 cards in your hand. But if you start with Ravine or Terraforming, you end with 1. So like by giving up 1 like hand trap that you don't even need, you can keep like a high impact hand trap like a Droll and Lockbird, or like any hand trap like DD Crow, or you just end up with more consistency. So like 1 card for more consistency I found was worth playing 3 copies of Terraforming, and then Ravine and the 1 Terraforming on top of Remus, just to make sure you do see Remus. And then guess what? Like if you see Remus and you see Ravine, then you don't even have to like just neg yourself, since you can activate the Ravine and then discard the Remus, right? And then search Legatus that way. And you didn't really lose any meaningful advantage if you did that. Um, so yeah, this I think this is probably like Dragunity Dragon Maid. This is how far I was able to like break this deck. I chose 41 cards because I don't think I don't think the difference is negligible, like statistically speaking, to draw to brick. It's not even like a 1% difference on pretty much anything here. You have a less chance to seeing driver, which is nice. You have a less chance of drawing these. I would say these two. I mean, drawing Armagram doesn't really matter as long as you draw a combo, because you can just discard it. And like drawing Legatus also just doesn't matter as long as you have like Ravine and access to Remus to fill in the other end of that combo. So like this is still really like the hardest Garnet that you play in the deck, but you don't. This card you really don't want to draw it, right? But it doesn't matter. I think I like it. I guess I can do a step-by-step combo to kind of show what the deck is capable of, and then I immediately brick, right? Yeah, that's the curse, right? Yeah, here we go. This is a hand, like this hand looks terrible, right? But it's completely playable. Just don't get ashed, right? Because, 'cause, 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 we're gonna send Dragon Maid Tidying, and we're going to add Dragunity Remus. And we'll do it again, right? We're gonna send Remus and search another Dragon Ravine because this card, like I said before, is not a hard once per turn. So we're gonna do it again. So right here, we need to discard one more time. So we're gonna discard. We could keep the Monster Reborn, or we could discard. We can keep the Tidying. I'm gonna send the Tidying. I'd rather keep the Monster Reborn for like follow up, just in case like something happens. Like say your opponent not ashes, your opponent like negates the effect of your Gaydirg. You're gonna want to have like the follow up because Gaydirg also isn't a heart once per turn. So we're going to activate Remus. And again, this is making the use of the absolute worst hand you can get, right? That's technically playable. We're gonna use Gaydirg's effect, and we're going to send. We're going to search and then send Chamber. Now we're going to banish Tidying, revive Chamber. And we're going to use and search Dragon Maid Hospitality. And then we're going to make Erratic Spheres like we normally do. And now we're going to activate Monster Reborn, targeting the Gaydirg. And like this is it. What's weird about this is that it's all completely freeform, right? We're gonna send Nurse Dragon Maid. It's the weirdest kind of like 2-card combo, but it is. It just doesn't feel like it, right? Because this all starts with you just having multiple discards for Ravine, and one of them needs to be an extender in some way, shape, or form. So like Tidying ended up working. Technically, like we could have, if we didn't reborn, we just would have revived. We could just always revive Chamber twice, right? Like we could have used, if it were World Legacy Guard Dragon, we could revive Chamber and then use Hospitality to revive Chamber that way. Or since it's World Legacy Guard Dragon, we could move Chamber, and like you don't even need to use the Hospitality. Like it's an incredibly freeform combo, but it's all technically still 2 cards if you just count the card advantage when you're like making the play. So we're gonna use LP, right? Gaydirg is still right here on our board, and we're gonna send Parlor. You preferably want to send Parlor off of summon Parlor off of LP, just so that you can send Changeover, because searching Changeover or hard drawing it and not discarding it can like really complicate your hand. So now we're gonna make Show. Alright, then we're gonna use Pisty, and we can revive anything we want, really. The best thing to revive, I would say, is Gaydirg, because then we can put another Remus in the graveyard. This is something I wanted to talk about, right? Because this is normally the part of the combo where you'd search DD Crow, but you see, because 2 things went wrong and why we can't search Crow. The first thing that went wrong is that we had to start with Ravine, not Remus. So you were down a card. Normally, this combo, if you don't start with Ravine to search Remus, you start with Remus to search Ravine. You end with 2 cards in your hand here. If you start the combo without, if you finish the combo without like a dragon in your hand that you don't need, like if this was any dragon in our deck, you could search DD Crow and then send that dragon for an easy, additional interruption. So that's like making the best use of your resources, if you have them, right? But we don't. Both of those things went wrong in this opening. We didn't have. We started with Ravine into Remus, and we didn't finish with an extra dragon. So what we do is we're gonna search Remus, and we're gonna send it, right? And you'll see why I do that. There's multiple reasons for why I do it. And then we make the satellite dragon, and we put the satellite dragon right here. So this ends up being the end board. It's, again, I really wish there was something better I could do with these 2, but for now this is all I've got, right? So we pass turn, move on to our opponent's turn. We have 3 interruptions. It's fine. cards in our graveyard. You know, we already have the tidying, which is great, just because of the setup. So what we're gonna do is on our opponent's turn, we're gonna use Show's Effect, and we're going to revive Parlor. We send Parlor, and we're gonna send Lorpar just to get her in the graveyard. All right. So we're gonna fast forward. You know, let's pretend we didn't use, our opponent just passed, right? They didn't trigger any error negates. Obviously, that's super unlikely, but it's more so because I want to demonstrate a different aspect of the combo. Satellite Dragon. We're going to top. We're gonna put something on the top of our deck. What's something? Red MD. We can top our deck with anything, so why not? So we're going to draw a Red MD for turn. We're going to use Show's Effect, right? If this could also technically be House Dragon Maid too. As long as you have another Maid, it doesn't matter. You're going to revive Chamber, and then you're going to search Tidying. This is how you like push. So now we're going to use the Send the Dragon effect, and we're going to discard anything in our hand. In this case, we can discard the Tidying, doesn't matter. But you can also decide to keep it. And we're going to send the Armagram. And then we're going to convert these extra bodies on our board. So 1, 2, 3, 4 into Borosword Dragon. And then we're going to use Armagram's effect, right, to revive himself. And you see how much material we have to use this card. We have so much to blow through that it doesn't even like matter what we banish, as long as it's not like any of our main engine pieces. So like LP Pissy don't matter anymore. So we summon back Armagram. Boom, we can like negate something if we want to, and it's a permanent negate too. Like it's not temporary, but it's spell speed 1, which is the downside. So like that's why that specific interaction is why I like the card the most. But like we can also say, you know, let's say we use spheres already. We summon back Remus. Because we have Armagram on board, it's a Dragunity and Nain, we get to make use of the excess Remuses that are in our deck. I think that's super important for really maximizing the efficiency of your resources. Like in the way I was doing it before with only 1 Ravine and like 3 Remus, after you got the Ravine out of your deck, the Remuses that were left over were just kind of dead, because you can never really get another Dragunity monster on board. But Armagram is the perfect, like, it recurs itself and it's a name, so you can summon Remus. Sadly, there's no good level 11 synchros I think were worth playing, and like trying to summon anything else using like the Dragon Maid levels, because they vary so much, just ended up being super inconsistent. So I don't think adding synchro summoning to the deck is really going to be worth it. But you can do cheeky things like change the Remus to defense position, and then you can like swing into your opponent with all these big monsters, right? But like, let's say your opponent didn't die for X reason, or your board was somehow cracked. These 2 cards alone, sent off of Ravine, serve as a meaningful follow-up, right? Because they make spheres by themselves. As long as you have Ravine and the ability to send Armagram and revive it, you can have a follow-up spheres play, which I think is perfect, because it allows the Dragunity engine to flourish without the Dragon Maid cards like carrying the entire like advantage engine. Like if we ever were to get cut off from our linear game plan, the Dragunity cards being able to get us right back into it with our best link play is just fantastic. So that's why I think playing 1 Armagram is actually like worth it. But like that's a brief comprehension or display for the deck. Yeah, I've been working on this for quite a while. I think it's super strong. I don't know how. I think 41 cards is fine. I don't really think 40 is the difference. It actually even matters. Some people may like be a stickler about that though. If you wanted to play 40, the most cuttable card would probably be the 2nd copy of World Legacy Guard Dragon. above anything else, right? Um, you don't really need anything, and then you'd rather have one Reborn and one World Legacy Guardian than two Guard Dragon and one and no Reborn, because they have different names, so they can be used together. Whereas opening two is just kind of a dud, and like the card just isn't. It's strong, but it's just not as useful in this variant because Remus does all of the legwork for you. So, anyways, that's the end of the video, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, share the video around to anyone you think might be interested in a collaborative Dragunity Dragon Maid strategy. This will probably be what I'm playing once Ghost from the Past release. Of course, this could all just be like for nothing, assuming like LP could very well just get banned on the next list. We are still a couple days out from it. I don't really know when it's gonna arrive, but that could just happen, right? So I'd be disappointed, but the deck's legs stand on their own, right? Like even if we lost LP, there's another card that I think in this version specifically is incredibly powerful. Ultra Polymerization. Boy, the theory behind this card is weird because it's a really bad 2 card combo card, but it's insane in like 3 card combos. So like you open Remus and like an extender, this card is, I mean, plus this card, it's Spheres plus Show, like without even touching Guard Dragons. I think this card should be revisited, but for in the meantime, it's probably not the most consistent card to look towards. But I'm going to be keeping it on my radar. I think this is a really good Dragon Maid support card. Um, Aside from that, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, and you all have a great evening. Take care.